Hello and welcome to today's episode of Piano TV. So we are going to look at 5 specific exercises that you can do to speed up your fingers or to practice fast playing on the piano. We did a video kind of similar to this a while ago called 5 exercises for hand independence. It was something like that. I'll link it in the blog and in the comments below. Not in the comments, in the description box below. So I decided, since you guys seem to like that video, that we do a follow-up based on speed. All of these 5 exercises can be found over on the blog in a PDF file that I created, so it's completely free to use and download and do whatever you want with. For the most part, these exercises are simple enough that if you've been playing for a few months, you should be able to do these, but I'm hoping that people who have been playing for a longer amount of time will still be able to get value out of them as well. So I tried to make them broad in scope for a variety of different piano players. Anyway, let's get started. I think the best way to go through this video is to do each exercise one by one, and I'll explain to you why I put those specific exercises on here. Now, all 5 of these exercises are based on scales, chords, and arpeggios, and there are infinite different types of speed exercises that you could do, but I decided to focus on things like scales and arpeggios because I feel like they're the ones that people are the most familiar with, and they're the ones that we don't necessarily have to think about quite so hard when we're playing, and that'll help us just move our fingers faster. The first piano exercise is the simplest. It's just a good old cross-hand arpeggio. I start teaching these to kids within their first year or 2 of lessons, and I teach them much sooner for adults because they're really simple to understand, but they take a little bit of coordination and keyboard geography to execute properly. I'll demonstrate the cross-hand arpeggio to you right now at just a normal tempo. So hopefully from that you can see why we call it a cross-hand arpeggio in the first place, because the left hand is crossing over the right, and then it has to return to its original starting point. An arpeggio is simply a chord, in this case C chord, and then it's repeated over and over again. So we're using the note of a C chord in the left, C chord in the right, and then I end with a C chord on top, or a C note on top, and then I go back down in reverse order. Now I could do this with any chord I wanted to. I could make it C minor by adding an E flat. I could play it anywhere on the piano. I could do F major, I could do D minor, and so on. So I would explore these with a wide variety of chords because it'll help you become more adept at fast hand movements, especially with the left hand, because the left hand has to do so much extra movement. Be sure to keep this exercise really steady, and then when you're ready, speed it up. You don't want to get this with like chunky pauses. And this is another thing that sounds really cool with the damper pedal. Just has like a certain elegance to it, so you can play with that too. The next exercise is a longer cross-hand arpeggio, and it's simply a step up from the first exercise. It covers more ground on the keyboard, it goes through more octaves, and we're still playing it in the cross-hand style, but just adding a few extra crossovers along the way. I'll demonstrate this arpeggio at a regular tempo, just like the other one, with damper pedal for a little flair. So you can see I'm alternating a left hand chord with a right hand chord, and while I'm playing the right hand chord, my left hand is preparing, and so on. When you play this style of arpeggio, both hands are constantly moving despite which one is actively playing. So in theory, you could play this one as many octaves as you like. You could go from like the very bottom to the very top of the piano. I just wrote this sheet music to be a guide, but I encourage you to make it up as you go. And like the easier version of this arpeggio, you can explore it with a wide variety of different chords. You can do D major, E major, any chord you really want to get the most out of this technique. The remaining 3 exercises are all scale-based, and they're all by Czerny, because Carl Czerny is just a wonderful resource for all kinds of etudes and finger exercises. So I'd suggest, if you enjoy playing these ones, definitely go explore the complete collections that they're from. This one here, number 3, is also the most difficult of this set of 5. The entire etude that I grabbed this from is actually quite a bit longer, but I shortened it for our purposes today. You basically see that the whole etude is a series of scales. First, they're descending, and then later on, they go the opposite direction. They start going up. And these are 2-octave scales. So if you haven't learned how to do that yet, definitely check out a video we've done in the past on playing a 2-octave scale, just so you can get the finger patterns all figured out first. Otherwise, this one's going to be a little bit above your capacity. So what makes this one particularly challenging is not only playing it with the left-hand chords, but there are also huge hand leaps, and of course, as is the theme of this video, the speed. I encourage you to try out this exercise hand separately first so you can learn the pattern. You'll notice that the right hand scales are simply stepping up note by note. So we start on C with our scale, and then we do a D scale, but no sharps and flats, and an E scale, no sharps and flats, etc. What makes this one so tricky is that you have the span of a 16th rest to jump across the keyboard. So once I finish that C scale, I have to get all the way back up there without a hesitation. So this is a great exercise in accuracy as well as speed. And the left-hand chords are really basic. They're all just variations of C and G7 chords with like an F chord thrown in there for fun. So here's what this one looks like all together. These last 2 exercises are almost identical. The biggest difference is that number 4 focuses on a fast right hand and number 5 focuses on a fast left hand. So these exercises are meant to be played on repeat just to increase your coordination and speed. You can loop them as many times as you feel comfortable until your fingers start loosening up and becoming a little bit more familiar with the patterns. The patterns here are really simple. So with the exception of the final scale at the very end of the little tune here, everything else sits comfortably in C 5-finger position. So this is great because you don't have to focus on jumping or leaping. You just plunk your hands in one spot and then work on getting the velocity. So I'm going to play through it really quickly so you can see what it looks like. So you'll notice that the left hand literally just alternates 2 different chords the whole time. So this is simple so that you can put your entire focus on getting the right hand fast and loose. This final exercise, as previously mentioned, is basically just the reverse of number 4. So this time the left hand is playing the fast 5-finger pattern and the right hand is alternating the 2 simple chords. So I'll play this one through on the keyboard here. So again, these are designed to be played in a loop over and over. The main value of this exercise is to be gleaned once you're really comfortable with the finger patterns. You don't have to think about the notes. You can just kind of let your fingers go. So I'd suggest memorizing this pattern, and then that's how you can further push your speed. Thank you so much for watching today's video. As I mentioned at the beginning, you can go check out the PDF and start practicing these if that's something you want to do. Thank you so much for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. You can visit me over on my social media things, and I will catch you in the next video. Let me do that again. I'll demonstrate what this looks at like